Please all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome you all to the public session of the Board of Trustees on September 25th. It even stopped raining, I believe. First off, we have public comment, and Evelyn Conrad.
Good evening. I'm going to give you copies of something you already have, but I think perhaps it deserves to be read again because...
Copies for everybody?
Huh?
Copies for everybody?
One each. Thank you. Because if the village loses that courtyard, you have the responsibility. You'll be held accountable because you have the oversight responsibility over the planning board, and the planning board is still operating under the aegis of that lawyer that I told you should be dismissed for cause. You haven't bothered to find out what cause, although I've given you some of his frauds. But the judges take a very dim view of willful ignorance. You should know. Among other things, what he has done is make a sewing circle out of the ARB, told them that they're supposed to talk about fenestration and whatever. Their real purpose is to preserve what is valuable and should be preserved in a neighborhood. It's the one thing they don't do. And size, of course, is a major key to that. Now, as for the planning board and the courtyard, I wish Susan were here. Have you gotten the hundreds of petitions signed for keeping the courtyard? Because let me just make one little comment. I'm sorry they're not here. I need to talk behind someone's back. But the Southampton Association, per usual, cut the baby in half. It's not their baby. In their ad to preserve the courtyard, they came up with a solution about a walkway. Now, I hate to tell you, I vote in this village. I don't remember seeing their name on the ballot. Where do they come off making a recommendation? The usual procedure is that the planning board says no to a particular proposal. It's the developer who comes back with a counter proposal, not the Southampton Association, undercutting what I've been trying to do, which has been, as you will see, asking them to vote immediately a rescission of the negative declaration. Do you know what that means? It means that they would have to do a true SECRA job of review, which takes about a year. I would certainly not use the people that my taxpayer going for Voorhees or whatever their name is. They're nothing but a rubber stamp for the developer, for heaven's sakes. The people I was going to recommend to you is Burkhardt. The full name is on your comprehensive plan of 2000, May 2000. Frank Fish, who is a founder and partner in that firm, worked with me on fighting against the Sheldon Solo mega bomb, the $4 billion project, where I represented Tudor City. He's excellent. I talked to him about the present problem. He wanted to take it on, but that would have been being in opposition. He can't do that right now because one of their associates has a deal going with the hospital. Not supposed to know it's a hospital, but it's a hospital. But if you hire him, that you can do, because that's not an opposition. And that would be a very good step to try to get some rational and legal steps going that the planning board has been fighting. Now, let me tell you about what the duties of the planning board are. They're one of the most powerful group. Oh, please, you give lots of time to developers. Let's hear this out for once.
The next person's time also.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Well, we should.
If
You're the important audience.
Evelyn, you did submit a letter. I'm assuming everything you're stating is in the letter?
Huh?
Everything you're stating is in your letter?
No. I didn't want to shame them, but I am ashamed of you because you do have the oversight responsibility. And Robinson, as long as he is there, you will not get an honest and legal decision either out of ARB or out of the planning board. Now, Roy Stevenson, who is certainly a highly educated man, asked Robinson whether the SECRA law trumps the developer. He should not have to ask that. Yes, state law trumps the individual property owners. You know what the rights are of the property owner in front of the planning board? They have a right to a reasonably efficient and speedy review of their case, and they have a right to a fair hearing. They do not have a right to the maximum of the code. It's nothing to do with it. By the time their application is going in to the planning board, the building department should have seen it. It has nothing to do with the code, nothing. They have absolutely no other right. Now, I would love to know, since we're informal here tonight, whether any of you know what exactions are. I bet you don't. You know what exactions are?
Evelyn, if you could just
I'll tell you what an
cut it
exaction
short.
is. Yeah, believe me, compared to what there is, this is short, because I've got stacks like this. Exactions are what the planning board has a right and responsibility as representatives of the community, not of the developer, to ask of the developer in return for giving him permission. For instance, someone comes, wants to put up 16 houses on 11 acres. Planning board says no, only 8. Planning board says you should have a tennis court there because otherwise you will be presuming on the one of your neighbors, the other community here. Those are exactions. What the planning board not only has a right, but a duty to ask of the developer. Do you think our planning board under Robinson has ever once asked for that? Do you think they've ever once done a positive declaration, meaning that you need a secret review? Now, you are responsible. And you have a totally dishonest lawyer giving misinformation to the 2 boards he advises. I suggest you do something about it, because you'll be paying the price, and that would be a shame.
Thank you. Any other comments? No further comments. We move to board presentations. And we have the Honorable Assembly Member from District 1, Fred Thiel.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Village Board. It is a pleasure to be here tonight, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity this evening to update you on really an initiative that's been ongoing for a couple of years that really has been worked on by all 5 of the East End towns. There are really 2 components of it. One of it is really for the North Fork and one is for the South Fork. But we sat down a couple of years ago in Riverhead Town Hall, I'd say a little more than 2 years ago, with the Long Island Railroad, who has in the past hasn't been terribly known for their being responsive to the needs of the East End and providing greater service out here. But they came out here to meet with the mayors and supervisors and other elected officials to talk about improving service on the East End. And on the North Fork, that really took the focus of that was really to add additional trains that would come from New York or Ronkonkoma out to Greenport. But for us, something that we've been working on, and I bet some of this goes back to when Bill Hattrick was mayor, because some of this, I remember a book that was done by the 5 East End towns called Blueprint for the Future, when another Cuomo was governor back in 1994, and one of the recommendations was increased commuter rail service here on the East End back in 1994. You may remember about 10 years ago when County Road 39 was being reconstructed in the springtime of that year of 2006. There was great fear of how would people be able to get to work. We were able to do a pilot project with trains with the Long Island Railroad about 10 years ago, and that worked pretty well. But what we talked about 2 years ago with the Long Island Railroad was trying to put together a permanent service whereby residents and commuters would be able to commute to their jobs here on the South Fork in the morning and then be able to get back west. And without going into any great detail, we all know the issues with the trade parade. We know the issues with County Road 39, depending on what time of the year that traffic can back up, sometimes past Hampton Bays, almost all the way to Quogue. So the idea here was to provide an alternative to the automobile, provide a commuter rail service, which, of course, in the beginning will be very limited because there's only one track, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But the railroad agreed 2 years ago that they would help us to provide that service. And that's what I'm really here to report to you about tonight. And that is basically, the current effort, and what the railroad has agreed to do is that they will provide 2 trains in the morning that don't exist now, 2 trains in the morning, and 2 trains back in the afternoon. And I'm going to provide you with the draft schedule for that, and pass that around. Basically, the first train would start at Spionk at 6:16, would stop in West Hampton, Hampton Bays, and that first train would stop in Southampton at 6:45 in the morning. So that's the early train. At least for me it is, anyway. That's the early train. The second train would start in Hampton Bays at 8:26 and would get to Southampton at 8:36. So you'd have a train arriving at 6:45 in Southampton and a train arriving at 8:36 in Southampton. Those are the 2 morning trains. In the afternoon, to get people back, there would be 1 train that leaves Southampton at 3:31 p.m. and a second train that would leave Southampton at 5:33 p.m. So this is a service that's proposed by the Long Island Railroad. It is scheduled to begin on March 4th. So there's still, a fair amount of time, but as you know, time goes by fast. It's really not that far away, and we're, putting the final plans together for that. So that is one part of the service, and that is from people that travel from west of the canal who work here on the South Fork to be able to provide them a way by train to get here in the morning and then to get back by afternoon. Now, the second part of this service, and what we had 10 years ago, is that you've got to get people the last mile. You have to get people from the train station to where they work. And 10 years ago, that was done by the town's contracting for bus shuttle services to provide transportation from the train stations to where the major employment centers are. In Southampton Village, I think where the bus at that point, ran downtown. It went to the hospital, went to the school. Those were some of the stops with regard to that. So what we were able to do with Senator LaValle and myself, we were able to get $500,000 in this year's state budget for the town of Southampton and the town of East Hampton to have funding available to provide that last mile transportation. The towns have put together a request for proposals, which they have begun to circulate. I think they're going to have a meeting with potential bidders in early October, and it's their goal to really award a contract sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks, I think, sometime probably in the month of November. It's anticipated that bus shuttles will still be part of that. What exists now, though, which didn't exist 10 years ago, are things called ride sharing. Services like Uber or Lyft and other ride-sharing services. Other communities with commuter issues have, for example, provided funding to subsidize Uber rides to encourage people to use the service. In some communities, they don't have enough parking at their train station, so would encourage people to take an Uber ride and subsidize that Uber ride to get them not to take a car to the train station. With us, it's a little bit different in that, once people are at the train station, they still need to be able to get to work. So I think the towns are going to be looking at a variety of different options with regard to providing that last mile transportation. Certainly bus shuttles will be part of that, but maybe some of these other services, taxis, that may be something that they look at also. In addition, we found that we would need additional parking, particularly in Hampton Bays. There's enough parking in Spionk. We found 10 years ago that when we did this, the popular places where people would stop were Spionk and Hampton Bays, and Hampton Bays in particular. So the town was also provided with $125,000 to provide increased parking at the Hampton Bays station. So by the time this starts in March, there will be additional spaces. They'll be enlarging the parking lot in Hampton Bays. Also, the towns will be working in the fall into the winter to basically publicize this service, to do an outreach campaign, to let people know about the service, how it's going to work, and all of that. So, that is kind of an overview of the service. The things that people want to know, I guess more than anything, well, how much is it going to cost? And I have a meeting with the Long Island Railroad to finalize some of these issues. We are certain that the round trip each day would not cost more than $6.50. That's the maximum. We're working to try to see if we can reduce that a little bit. In addition, there would be a commuter ticket, a monthly ticket, which would be at a reduced service for those who plan to take it every day or on a regular basis. So, really what I'm here for tonight, one is to give you an update. Two, because all of this stuff is close to being finalized, but not completely finalized. Please look at the schedule. There's the ability to tweak that schedule maybe a couple of minutes either way. Put your ear to the ground here in the village and see, if any modifications to the schedule might work. The second thing I would urge you to do is that if you have some thoughts or views as to what that bus shuttle service should look like from the Southampton station, what stops should that be making? We would appreciate you sharing that with the town of Southampton before they enter into a contract for the service. The last thing that I just wanted to bring up, kind of related issues to this, is we have one track, and just having the one track really limits the number of trains that we can have. There is one train every 2 hours. Obviously, we would like it to be more convenient. And in the future, we believe that we will be able to do that. And we're working with the Long Island Railroad to provide either new sidings or to upgrade the sidings that they have now so that trains can pass each other. The goal here for that will be to provide for a capital project for the sidings as part of the MTA capital plan in the next year or so, with construction probably still to be 2 or 3 years away. So we're hoping this is the first step, to have those 2 trains in the morning and those 2 trains in the afternoon. If there truly is a demand for this service, which I think there is, having those additional trains and times that are more convenient for everybody, certainly I think is something that we can try to grow in the future. And the last thing that I just wanted to bring up is that as part of this discussion with the Long Island Railroad, given the fact that Southampton campus of Stony Brook University is starting to grow again this fall, over 600 students will take classes at Southampton. They're graduate students these days, not undergraduate students, but they're going to be there. And of course, the hospital will be ultimately 4 or 5 years from now breaking ground for a new hospital at that campus. We've also been in discussions with the Long Island Railroad about restoring and bringing back that station at the college campus. Between increased students and having a hospital there, we think that that's a stop that the Long Island Railroad should have also. So that is kind of an overview of where we are. As I said, I'm trying to update, the school districts, the local villages, the town governments as to where we are with this. There's another meeting with the Long Island Railroad to kind of finalize this in about a month or so. And then the idea is to, is the service, when the schedules change in the spring on March 4th, that's when this service would begin. I think the target for this service is largely going to be white-collar workers, people that work at the hospital, people that work on Main Street, people that might work at Town Hall or Village Hall. at least initially, I think to have success with actually getting tradespeople to take the train is you're going to have to provide locations for them near at the train stations where they can have, they can secure equipment or be able to park trucks and things of that nature. But initially, at least our experience was 10 years ago, was that teachers, office workers, retail business, people that worked retail businesses, those were the ones that really initially, took this train. And the last thing was just kind of an anecdotal kind of story. And, this season, traffic here each summer is like Christmas in reverse. Each Christmas is over, you open all your presents, and either your mother or father would say, this was the best Christmas ever, And summer traffic here is like that in reverse. The summer ends, Labor Day comes, and like, man, this was like the worst season ever. And between the golf tournament in June, and then, what was really a big summer, I think, as far as the economy, I think that people felt that way. And this is a true story. I'm not making this up. I'm in my office. You asked me when I get started in the morning, and I said usually sometime between 8 and 9. I'm in the office, a little bit after 8, and the phone rings, and nobody else is in the office yet. I'm in there by myself. I pick up the phone, and it was a woman on the phone from her cell phone in her car saying, I'm in traffic on County Road 39. It's taking me an hour and a half to get to work. When is that train going to start? So I'm taking that as a good sign that maybe people might want the opportunity to use this train. And just to look at, which experience tells us a lot of people, will get on the train in Hampton Bays, and one of the big stops is Southampton Village. East Hampton Village are the two biggest stops, at least they were 10 years ago. But think about how long it takes just to get from Hampton Bays to Southampton on County Road 39 in the morning, and then look at the schedule and see that you can get from Hampton Bays to Southampton in 10 minutes. So we hope that will be an incentive for people to use this service. So thank you for letting me update you. And any questions that you may have or issues that you might want to raise that I could bring up with the railroad?
One item that I would raise is I think that to make this successful, a big component of it should be more of an educational factor, getting people aware of the schedule and getting them aware of the time frame, because we certainly need it out here with County Road 39, and I think the college campus, getting that stop up and running again is pretty important.
Thank you. One thing I didn't mention, let me just briefly mention, the railroad runs a schedule that runs basically from March to October, and I think it's October to March, or maybe it's May to October and October to May. There will be the only change in this schedule over the summertime will be on a Friday afternoon, where that second afternoon train will have to be replaced by a bus, because the cannonball, okay? The cannonball comes through on Friday afternoon, and so
the world ends.
But the towns will be providing bus transportation to make up for that one train. It's only, I'm told, the only disruption is on a Friday for a couple of weeks in the summertime. So I just wanted to mention that also. So, thanks.
I also think, and it's probably exactly what Michael said, but I do remember, because I sat on the committee when we were working on County Road 39, and I was on the Transportation Committee, and they did a lot of advertising for that at that point, and I think that has to happen to begin with.
Yeah, I think that, and that's recognized. Part of the budget is for advertising, is for outreach. And of course, the one thing that is also different now than it was 10 years ago, social media needs to be a big part of that also. So, as we get things finalized, hopefully by the end of October, that will lead us with, a good 3 to 4 months to be able to do do the outreach. And I agree, you really, it's one of those things, I guess it's whether you're in government or politics or public relations, whatever it is, if you think you've said something so many times that you can't stand to say it again, and that's when you have to say it again. Because, you really do have to get people the information about this, at least initially, because I think it's a radical departure from the way that people are used to commuting out here. I suspect that, there will be lots of word of mouth after that, but you really do have to let people know, especially, I think, about the schedules and all the details of that, so people can plan their commute. And, the last thing I would just say is that, it took a lot of heavy lifting from, a lot of not just elected officials, but people who represent Long Island on the MTA board to get them to do this out here on the East End. So, we've taken our time in rolling it out, and because we think it's important to do it right, because if it doesn't work this time, who knows when we'll get another opportunity to get the railroad to do this. So.
I think it's exciting.
It is.
I think there's great potential here after all these years. So we're excited about it. And again, if you have any suggestions before things get finalized, just let us know.
If you add a bar car on the one back, you'll get a lot of people to get on.
Yeah, we got to bring those back.
Yeah. So especially heading west on a Friday afternoon. So, yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Well, no, thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thank you.
Steve, are you thinking of changing your mind?
Will you pick me up here?
Glad to.
I take a cannonball on Thursday, too.
We have no public hearings.
Okay, 2 communications. The first one from Southampton Public Schools. Homecoming this year for Southampton is October 1st to the 5th. I'm writing to request permission for Southampton Public School for the following. We would like permission to have our homecoming parade on Friday, October 5th, starting in Southampton Elementary School parking lot on Hampton Road and going down Hampton Road to Narrow Lane, finishing at the Southampton High School parking lot. We plan to start the parade between 5:15 and 5:30 p.m. We would like to have the traffic stopped at least one way, if not both ways. Our homecoming pep rally and bonfire is scheduled for Thursday, October 4th at 8 o'clock. And we were hoping to use the showmobile once again for the pep rally. Lastly, several years ago, we had a banner for homecoming on the trestle and stopped for a couple of years. We would like to put the banner back up on the trestle again this year prior to homecoming. I will be reaching out to the Fire Marshal, Dean McNamara, for the bonfire. Anything else you need, please let me know. Darren Phillips, Director of Athletics.
Did we give them the showmobile?
We have, yeah.
Chase them out of the business district, did we?
He actually, Darren Phillips mentioned that they specifically changed the route with the hope that it will bring people to the high school and then get them to stick around there.
So we gave them the boot like the ragamuffin. Okay. That wasn't us.
We kept the dogs.
We kept the dogs, though. We kept the dogs and get rid of the kids.
You're right, we kept the dog.
Well, I certainly would make a motion to accept their homecoming this year, October 1st and October 5th, and permission is requested.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Next one's from the Heart of the Hamptons. Our local charity, Heart of the Hamptons, is asking permission to once again host the Polar Bear Plunge at Cooper's Beach this year on Saturday, December 8th, 2018. We also ask permission to hang a promotional banner for the plunge from the railroad trestle over North Sea Road in Southampton Village, as we have done every year since 2005. We are asking to hang it from November 17th to December 10th. The banner will be installed and removed by Ron Fisher of Fisher Signs. Southampton Village contributes a great deal of support and volunteer service to our charity to put on this event. We are grateful for all that you have done and continue to do to help us. Your support helps us raise money to provide food, clothing, and shelter to hundreds of Southampton residents. Many thanks, J. Hilton Crosby, Executive Director. Hilton, you want to add anything to that?
Hello, Mr. Mayor, trustees. Thank you for having Heart of the Hamptons. I'm here to represent as the director. Last year was an extremely successful year for the Polar Bear Plunge with $89,000 just about, and we almost reached our goal of $100,000. That number rolls in later than usual. We reported 74, but luckily we got to 89. So that was good.
100 this year.
Hopefully. I hope that happens. With all of this money, in 2017, before we got it, so this year we're working on the same goals. With the food pantry, we serve 500 households who are registered as proven to be from Southampton town. And those 500 families make up around 1,500 people, and we distributed 70,000 meals to those people in 2017. The clothing room, which we accept donated items from the community of Southampton, and then we distribute those items to people that normally wouldn't be able to, it helps subsidize someone's budget to afford extremely cheap clothing, or if need be, donated to them or given to them. All clothing is donated and tax deductible. Last year we processed over 24,000 pounds of clothes. That's 12 tons. And all of that came down into the basement and then back out. The clothing we do not use is donated to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island, so it goes on further to be used in some way. Our assistance program is a vital program in our community. It provides basic needs for those in crisis in our community. Crisis does not, we are not protected. None of us are protected from crisis. And so Heart of the Hamptons is here to help those that are in need in those times. Basic needs meaning utilities, rent gaps to prevent medical transportation, and then we also provide relief to children in the schools through our Backpack Kids program, which provided over $10,000 in gift cards to the Southampton School District and the Tuckahoe School District so that the teachers can meet the need expeditiously. Okay, and this is what this Polar Bear Plunge supports, so please come out on the 8th and join us. Thank you very much for all your support.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for all your efforts. So I'll make a motion to accept the Polar Bear Plunge on Saturday, December 8th.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Ooh, already cold.
Resolutions
You were a
item.
polar bear last year.
Yeah, it was.
Item 1, resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public session of September 13th, 2018 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Can I have a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the claims for the warrants dated September 25th, 2018, totaling $595,492.75, warrant 7 General Fund, $26,102.89, warrant 5 Capital Reserve Fund, $2,470.48, warrant 4 Expense Trust Fund, and $192.47, warrant 7 Trust Fund, be ordered and approved. Can I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second?
Discussion? Page 1, Coastal Fire Systems, $6,737.98. Racks for the fire department and water rescue vests. East Coast Mines and Materials, dump fees, $2,160. Page 2, Eastern Suffolk BOCES, the EAP program, $4,627.75. Fundamental Business Services, collection fees for the court, $8,065.50. Global Montello Group, flowing onto page 3, 3,124 gallons of diesel fuel, $7,221.98. Michael Kempf, Fire Department medical reimbursement, $1,000. Page 4, Morgan Auto Supply, garage supplies, $3,125.65. Bottom of page 4, flowing onto 5, Middlesex and Sons carting fees, $7,766.50. New York State Employee Health Insurance for October, $342,448.14. Optimum Cable Services for September, $1,165.94. O'Shea, Marcinkuck, and Broom, legal fees on the Rutenberg case versus ZBA, $3,183.75. Bottom of page 5, going on to page 6, People's Bank bond payment in the amount of $92,070. PSE&G Collection Services for September, $5,461.23. Red the Uniform Tailor, PD Uniforms, $1,161.24. Charlotte Creek Kennels, the Canine Dog, $7,500, who gave us a visit today. Software Consulting Associates, balance on the upgrade to the tax receiver system, $8,600. Sprague Operating Reserves, 2 separate deliveries of fuel of $3,000 apiece, 3,000 gallons apiece on August 30th and 9/17. Total cost $12,780.60. Town of Brookhaven dump fees $2,438.28. Town of Southampton dump fees $5,413.50. Trees Inc., sweeper repairs, the amount of $32,700, which was covered by insurance. Vaso Systems, garage parts, $2,170.81. Verizon phone bill for September, $3,879.97. Verizon wireless bill for September, $1,080.37. W&G Service, Fire Department AC, unit repair, $1,105.40. And the last page is Wolf Floyu, carpet repairs in the police department and the garage, $12,376.88. Next warrant is the capital reserve warrant. Motorola Solutions, an additional payment towards the ambulance radios, $19,375.92. Pursuit Auto Alert Emergency Division, PD vehicle lights, $6,590.17. And the last warrant is the September expense warrant, Granger, benches for the basketball courts at Lola Princess Park, $2,470.48. Further discussion? All in favor? Item 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following as members of the Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Corps: Christopher Brenner Sr., Christopher Brenner Jr., Angeline Grenke, Linda Zambrano, Marina Cirillo, Luke Collum, Matt Donovan, Tina Fernandez, Caroline Palumbo, Peyton Ambrose, Jillian Kolaric, and Cole Yastrzemski. Got a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Last one is resolved the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following payments from the Capital Reserve Fund subject to permissive referendum. Motorola Solutions, $19,375.92 for the Major Equipment Reserve, and Pursuit Auto Emergency, $6,270.56 from the Major Equipment Reserve. Have a motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? And the last one is a walk-run, which is an annual run with the torch by the Hispanic Apostolate of the South Fork on December 12th, 18, from 3:30 to 4 o'clock. Approximately 60 participants.
And they're on the sidewalk? Okay.
Yep.
Every year it comes up, they want to
Yep.
close the street, but we said they have to do it on the sidewalk.
Correct.
Yep. I think it's a pretty spectacular event. There's quite a few people, and
No, it's gained nice popularity since we started it several years ago, so
They take Sacred Hearts Church inside to levels it has never dreamt of before.
yes,
Now
that's
they
what
do
I've
with their
heard. Yeah,
instrumentation and that, and it was
it's fabulous.
Great.
Any comments? So I'll make a motion to accept the run with the torch, date Wednesday, December 12th, 2018.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We went through that pretty quick. We have,
thanks, sir.
yeah, set a record. We have comments from trustees. Trustee Yastrzemski,
I'm good.
Trustee Allen,
Just a couple. One is attainable workforce, next generation housing. Just a reminder that there will be 15 units made available at the Southampton Point, which is right here on County Road 39. 10 of those units are 2-bedroom, 2-bath. 5 are 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but a little bit larger. Again, you have to sign up on the Town of Southampton lottery. The cutoff is 5 p.m. on October 12th to sign up. If you don't have an online capability, you can go to the Citizens Response Center and register via paper. So that was the first topic, and some of those townhomes look really, really
yeah,
nice.
this, I've heard the inside.
Do you know how
is
much
very
they
good.
are?
Yes.
They tell you?
Yep. There'll be the 10 smaller units will be $233,375, and the 5 larger units will be $350,125.
Did they give you an indication of how much you have to earn in order to be able to qualify?
Yes, and you may not remember this, but at the meeting before the last, we had that AMI sheet up. I don't have it in front of me. But for the smaller units, you have to be at or under the 80% AMI threshold. And this is a guess now because it's from memory. I think that number was 140 for a family of 4. So you have to be, oh, Rich has it. Yay. Yay, Rich. Although this doesn't have, this is the other one. This is good, but it's the other one. Yeah, I think it's 140, and then you have to be 80% of that for a family of 4. And then for the larger unit, it's 130, so if it's 130% of that 140. But if you go to the town of Southampton, it is a very good site. It walks you through everything, and even if you don't qualify for this, there are rental opportunities. So sign your kids up.
Great. No, I've heard that the insides of those are
Very nice.
very nice.
Yeah.
Trustee McGann?
I don't really have anything. Thank you.
I have one thing, Michael. I had spoken to Gary Gillespie a couple of months ago, and maybe you could pressure them if you think this is a good idea or right thing to do, but the proposal that the village had received for changing the landscaping at the southeast end of Lake Agawam, and the village was supposedly going to come up with its own proposal, which, had some meaningful differences. And I really think it's a mistake if we let it go through to the spring, and then it takes 2 or 3 months of arguing, and the next thing you know, it's too late to pull out what's there.
Did you get a proposal from Gary today showing the planting plan?
Today?
Yes, because he sent
Is it
it
in
to
my-
me. No,
Well-
it was via email, because I got one and I opened it. I just really need to see it in larger
Okay, well, then
form,
if he's-
because
I'm glad if he's done that.
Yeah, he
The sooner
did
we
do
get
that.
at it, why?
No, we had discussed it a while ago, and he came in a timely manner up with another
Do you have a copy
plan.
inside?
No, I don't, but I can get it. He didn't say
Okay,
it
if
to
you
me,
could
but
get one
I
for
can
me.
get one for you, sure.
Thanks.
Yep.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
End of speech.
I have the corrected numbers.
Oh, you do?
Tell the canine story?
So I was wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. But anyway,
What's that?
I'd like to make one recommendation. It's not hostile.
No, we're not there yet.
We're not there,
We
yeah.
haven't opened that for discussion yet.
But you can.
if I may just correct, the AMI for a family of 4 at 80% that qualifies for the smaller unit, that's around $233,000. A family of 4 would have to earn less than $93,500. But for the larger unit, that's $350,000. A family of 4 would have to earn
No, this is leftover.
at or under $151,000. So, thank you for letting me
Clarify?
clarify. Thanks, Rich.
Well, that's good. It's a great opportunity. Nope, you got to wait. We're going to make you sit through the whole meeting. We have a number of upcoming events that, we constantly have so many great events in this village. It is really exciting, and everybody should take advantage of them. Saturday, September 29th, is the Hamptons Marathon will take place in the village. Start time is 8 a.m., and the race begins at the end of Southampton Intermediate School at 70 Leland Lane. There will be a map of the course that will be available at Village Hall on Thursday morning. Maybe we should also post it out front in the kiosk there. The village police and emergency service departments will be on hand to assist with traffic flow, etc. And we ask for your cooperation and patience should you run into the event. And then on Monday, October 1st at 6:30 at the Southampton Chamber of Commerce, Breast Cancer Awareness Month will kick off with a pink tree lighting. This year's tree lighting, sponsored by the Southampton Chamber of Commerce and the Coalition of Women's Cancers, will be held in memory of Kim Wines, which is great. And it'd be great to see a lot of people there. Yep. Coming up on Saturday, October 3rd, and continuing through November 3rd, the Southampton History Museum will present a haunted Rogers Mansion. Wednesdays through Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Perfect time to go there and get scared.
Is the Southampton Art Center doing their usual Halloween thing?
Do that at
No.
home.
They're not this year.
No.
They're not.
And then the greatest thing, I think, is our new police officer that came to visit us today. And his name is Topper. And he is just a great officer. Here, maybe you can put that down and we can get a shot of Topper.
Trustee Hattrick renamed him Topper the Copper.
He's got flat feet.
Oh, there he is. And I got to tell you, I'm sort of a dog person because I've always had dogs, and he is a really good dog. He's a really nice, good personality, very well socialized. Should be a good, tremendous addition to the Southampton Village Police Department. So we certainly, in this village, we welcome Topper.
Is it true he can bark in both English and Spanish?
Yes.
Polish, ooh.
And that's all I have, and so please, Evelyn, come forward.
This appeals to you in your legislative capacity. I wonder if you would do a change in the notice requirements, because you would get better participation and greater community participation in the ARB and planning board decisions. For instance, in a subdivision, every legal owner should be alerted, get a mailed notice of a public hearing at the ARB. That's not the way it's being done. In the case of the business community, why not ask the developers to put in a half-page ad in the Southampton Press? I hate to give them business because they do a terrible job, but it is read, a half-page of explaining what the plan would be, because the 2nd of July meeting where they decided on having, the planning board decided on a negative declaration, it was very sparsely attended. I was not there. Most of us didn't even know about this, you see. And the EAF, which is based on Gil Flanagan's work, doesn't mention a thing about covering up that courtyard. So you do need better notices, and that is just a change to the code. I think you not only have the possibility of doing it, it would make a huge difference. People would be less turned off, too, because they could take part. It's become sort of a little futile. Would you consider it? Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Any other comments?
All right.
No other comments? Then I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters involving village employees.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.